Hello, all of you beautiful mammals out there. This is Gamer Shark, and today we're going to talk about Battlefront, and more specifically, everything that I got wrong on Battlefront. Uh, just to summarize what I thought about Battlefront, I thought it was going to be a good game. I thought that it was going to be a lot more interesting and last a lot longer than Evolve and Titanfall. And really, the only thing, since it is still a high in player count, the only thing probably keeping that alive is the fact that it's Battlefront in Star Wars. Sorry, the Star Wars. I know that's the only reason why I'll go back to play it is just to be in a Star Wars battle. That's really it. To kind of talk about some of the things I talked about before and why I thought it was going to last long and why I thought it was going to be a good game, I'm going to address some of the things. One of the main points on my last video was that there was going to be no micro transactions, and there isn't. Woo! But the reason why there's no microtransactions, and especially an EA game, is that there's no content to microtransaction. There's I could see the only thing that they would even be able to do is a type of XP boost, but even then, whatever. But they don't have enough weapons, and they don't have enough star cards to microtransaction. Like, in a lot of games nowadays, like Halo 5 and Call of Duty, you kind of get like the card pack opening type deal, and you unlock new stuff. That star cards, you would think inherently would be a good option for that, but they don't have enough. There's not enough. And one of my points was that I thought the gameplay was going to be diverse because of star cards, and that they were going to add something to the gameplay. Well, unfortunately, there wasn't enough of them, and too many of them just weren't useful enough or didn't add enough to the gameplay. I know at the very beginning it was just spam grenades, and I'm not sure what the meta is like right now. I used a pulse cannon, and I can't think of the other one. But I thought when I found the two that I used, I was like, there's no real reason for me to pick anything else. And I guess until the DLC comes and what else they add to it, there's still nothing to it. And speaking of DLC, I thought that the price of DLC was justified because of the no microtransactions and that they had to make money somehow. But still, no, I don't think there's enough in the DLC. I know we're used to, from DICE, getting large expansions, and that's what we're apparently getting, but I don't think 4 maps is really enough. And a couple maybe new weapons and star cards, but I just feel like in order for this to be a well worth it DLC, you need a lot more. And in fact, this game in itself, to be worth the $60 price tag it was asking for, I would feel you need quite literally 5 to 3 times the amount of star cards and at least double the weapons. I don't know. And customization wise, way more. For the most part, all the unlocks are just different versions without helmets, which I feel would have been a lot cooler if they just allowed you to customize your own person instead of having all these preloaded at once. And as far as like the different races you go, there's just a couple for humans, and there's only 2 for stormtroopers, and that's the Dark Stormtrooper and the Scout. I can't remember what it's called, sorry. But they could have done so much more. I mean, for different Empire ones, a lot of people kind of the lack of immersion when you see stormtroopers running around without their helmets because we're not used to that. That kind of, I don't know. But to add more, they could have just changed the color scheme on some of the helmets. Like I think of clone troopers, you have blue, yellow, red, stuff like that. If there was just different markings and stuff on that would be more worth it to me for customization to work towards, or even like a battle torn version, stuff like that. And I think one of the things that they kind of ran into is that they have the snow trooper and the regular stormtrooper for different things. And if I could be a snow trooper on different maps, I thought that would be kind of interesting. Once again, it kind of throws it off, but more customization the better, really. So yeah, DLC, I don't know. I feel like most people are just gonna buy it. I don't want to. I really don't. But it's Star Wars, so yeah, it kind of gets that how the film affected release. I guess it really doesn't matter. Now that I kind of look back at it, they could have done it before or after. I don't think it really. I think they would have sold more if it was after. I guess they weren't sure on how good the movie would be received, but it sold well, and as far as we know, it hasn't gotten any flack that the prequels got. And unfortunately for us too in the DLC, there's nothing added with Clone Wars or the new trilogy coming out. They're just sticking to the original, which is what they said they were gonna do, and people kept wishing that stuff was gonna happen, but you can't. We all wanted it, but it wasn't gonna happen, and unfortunately, in the real original trilogy, there really isn't a lot going on for the battles and stuff like that. And I know the prequels is widely received as bad, but like it or not, it's a good video game setting. There's a lot of great stuff in there. And any of Star Wars video games I've played, the prequels were my favorite. I always wanted to be in those battle scenes. That's all I really remember from the prequels that I enjoyed was the battle sequences. And for example, when you first really saw a bunch of Jedi's together fighting an army of droids, that was cool. And you're just not gonna get anything like that from the original trilogy. As great as it is, there I would say the most iconic battles would be on the Death Star, and yeah, I mean there's other battles in it, like Endor looks beautiful and Tatooine and stuff like that, but the Death Star would be great, and that's not even in this, and it's coming later. But ooh, DLC, it should have been in the original game. Then it would be worth the $60. I mean, to address that, this game is like $40. And it upsets me that I don't have a problem with games going online, no campaign only. But the problem is that they only do that, but they don't do it well enough or a good enough reason to. A good example is Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty Black Ops 3 game. Call of Duty, just being Call of Duty, gets a lot of flack for what it is and what it does. But like it or not, I feel there's a lot of quantity in the purchase. Like, think about it: $60, full campaign, full fleshed out zombies mode. Although I feel like they did a bit much for this zombies, but that's a whole different thing. And multiplayer. And without zombies, without the campaign, it probably is still worth the $60. Because think of everything that's in the multiplayer. I mean, obviously there's a lot of different game modes and stuff like that, but what they've done with the characters and all the different customizations, all of the guns, all of the unlocks for everything, for the characters, for the guns, the progression system, like the prestiging your weapons, everything, trying out different loadouts. There's just a lot. If you've played Call of Duty, you probably just are blinded to it at this point and how much there really is to the multiplayer. But compared to a game like Battlefront, you can really start seeing the gap in what the Battlefront really lacks. And it's a lot in the sense of progression. And I know that they were going for not a hardcore fan basis. They were more trying to appeal to everyone. And they did that. But if you think about it, that's what Black Ops does. That's what Call of Duty is appealing to the quote unquote casual gamer, and they did a horrible job. I don't know. There's just nothing to do once you reach a certain point, and that's really the problem with multiplayer only games is what happens when you reach that point. And Black Ops 3 has a lot, and I mean if you reach the end, there's nothing more you can do. But the thing is, it takes a long time to reach the end, and 99% of players just won't unlock everything, won't max prestige all of the weapons, won't unlock all of the camos, won't this, that. There's a lot to do, and you're probably going to get burnt out before you can finish it. And if you don't get burnt out, like probably with me, I play the game for a long amount of time, in about a week to a month, and then I'll take a break from it for a while. And if it's one of those games where I can come back to, like Call of Duty is, then you just keep progressing. You can just jump back to where you were and keep going. But with Battlefront, I don't know. I haven't even got to level 50 because I don't see the point in investing my time to do so because it just doesn't feel worth it. It doesn't feel worth it. But I do feel Battlefront 2 can have a lot more. I'm not worried about them putting in a campaign, even though they will. But I feel they have the assets, graphically wise, and sound design wise, and gameplay and everything to where they can put in a lot more. But if the multiplayer itself is as bare bones as it is in the next one, then the campaign's really just gonna do it for me. Like I want to play in a story campaign of Star Wars, and I don't know. Let's cross our fingers for EA as not a monopoly, as a giant they are. Let's just hope they can do it. I don't Dice. They're the right people to handle a Battlefront game, but I just wish that they did more because there was a lot more that they could have done and that they didn't. And I feel like this is such a gigantic universe, even though for a lot of people that just watch the movies and stuff like that, it it's still big. But if you get into the books, the lore, and everything, they could have taken a lot more out of it and really brought a lot more of the casual people into Star Wars even more. And they failed at that. They failed at a lot in this game. It's visually stunning and it sounds amazing. I gotta hand it to them for that. I feel like the gameplay is solid. Uh, Balancing is okay at this point, but if you just give up on a game, like development wise, it would have been pretty bad to start with the spam of grenades and certain weapons in the game, specifically the one that they locked for people who got the deluxe copy, I believe, and they gave them the best weapon in the game. It's hard to say if it's the best weapon anymore. It's still very viable, but they gave you the best weapon in the game, and that's just wrong. EA for you, I guess. But what they have with this product, and what they can do for the next one, which we know that they're releasing a second Battlefront. Of course, I mean they have the license. They're going to use it. They're going to milk this cow. Let's hope not too much, and that they really kind of give us what we want and like what they should do. Because I said that this was going to be better than Evolve and Titanfall. The problem with Titanfall is that, I mean, sales wise, it beat both of them. Because it was Star Wars, because Titanfall was only sold on Xbox and on PC, and Evolve just wasn't. It was a new thing, so it wasn't going to catch on that much unless it was like amazing, and it was for a very brief amount of time. But after that, it just fizzled out, and I don't think Battlefront will fizzle out, but they're relying on Star Wars. Star Wars is what's keeping this from fizzling out, and they realize that. We should all realize that. I mean, it's Star Wars. As much as like I I don't appreciate what this game is at the moment. I can't help. It's Star Wars. One of my friends was like, "Oh my God, can you believe how much is coming in the DLCs?" I was like, "Right, it doesn't really make it up for me." And he's like, "But you're gonna buy it anyways because it's Star Wars." And I'm like, "You got me there because I will because it's Star Wars." And I hope that the second one's better. I was wrong on this one. It missed its mark. Not by. It's not a horrible game. It's not horrible. It's fun. It's fun for what it is. I mean, at this point, you can buy it at a lower price. Feel free to. It's a solid game, but it's nowhere near what it could have been. And I feel like that's what we're getting with a lot of games today. So I thank you for joining me today and listening as I correct myself on my predictions for Battlefront. Hope you have a good day, you beautiful mammals out there, and I'll catch you next time.